Hello brothers and sisters, welcome to this video. It is Thursday the 20th of May at 8 p.m. UK time. I hope that you are well and that you have shalom in Jesus' mighty name. The King of Kings is coming and it's not going to be long now. You may know that I have been in YouTube jail for the last couple of weeks and I haven't made a video because I've been in YouTube jail. Partly because of that. So the first thing I want to ask is, please, can you subscribe to my backup Rumble channel? I will put the link in the description of the video. And I know what I cannot talk about on this platform, YouTube, anymore. So I'm going to have to separate out the videos into, let's call it, sensitive and non-sensitive as far as YouTube is concerned. And I will put probably similar to JD Farage, where he puts the more sensitive content in a second part of the video. I will do that, and I will put the second part of the video on Rumble as long as the subscribers can move over to there. So please do subscribe to the Rumble channel. Again, it's in the link. I'll put the link in the description of the video, and I'll try and link it to the video as well. So I don't know how long I'm going to be able to exist on YouTube. I'm now on my last strike, and if I do one thing wrong, I will be removed. So it's important that if you want to keep up with what I have to say, then please subscribe to that channel. So the other reason why I haven't really been making videos as often is because we can see what's happening now on mainstream media. Of course, the reporting is extremely one-sided, and that's what we expect from the mainstream media, portraying Israel as the villain and only beginning to report when Israel responds, and completely one-sided reporting. It's actually stomach-churning. It's actually completely sickening how one-sided the reporting is. I mean, you know that. I'm sure you know what it's all about. They talk about the Palestinians were expelled from their land in 1948, but they just disregard that seven nations went to war with Israel when they declared independence, and as the British were leaving, the six Muslim Islamic surrounding nations were going in to slaughter the Jews, and they won that war miraculously. And they seem to just ignore that fact that they were attacked and they won their land back, and they made made up territory. So that happened in 1948 and 1967. In the 6-Day War, and so when you get attacked and you lose, you have the potential to lose ground. And I know that there are some teachers who say that the 1948 war was Psalm 83. That is not the case, because if you look at the nations which are referred to in Psalm 83, there are some nations which are missing out of the list of nations there. And if you study the judgments carefully, where the psalmist is saying, "Do unto them as you did unto these battles that they had in the past," you'll see that they completely wiped out the enemies of Israel. God completely wiped out the enemies of Israel. In the battles that Psalm 83 refers to, and says, "Do unto them as you did in the past." And had Israel wiped out their enemies, as the Bible instructs them to do, completely takes them out, we wouldn't have the Palestinian problem today. So the Psalm 83 war has not happened yet. It's in the future. So if you want to study that Psalm, look at the nations very carefully that he lists. He lists the tents of Edom. So the independence, the War of Independence, created the tents of Edom. But in Psalm 83, it talks about the tents of Edom that are coming against Israel. So the tents of Edom were the result of the War of Independence. The tents of Edom are the Palestinians as they are today. So in Psalm 83, it's talking about the tents of Edom coming against Israel. So it has to be a future war that it's talking about. So have a look at that, and you'll see. And it also talks about that they've taken a counsel against their hidden ones. In Psalm 83, they've taken a counsel against thy hidden ones, which are those who are going to be caught up in the sky. Hallelujah. So Psalm 83 is after the rapture of the church, as Ezekiel 39 is, and Isaiah 17. All those prophecies are going to be like dominoes that fall one after another. So that's what we are going to be watching from the mezzanine, and we're going to be seeing all these prophecies come to pass very, very quickly in short order of one another. So what can I talk about? What can't I talk about in this part of the video? Yes, okay. So let's talk about this blood moon which is coming up, the lunar eclipse. You'll see that they say that the lunar eclipse is happening in Sagittarius. That's not the case. It's actually happening in Scorpio. Here you can see there's the lunar eclipse, which is on May the 26th, and it is happening right in Scorpio. So what they do is they divide the constellations up into 30-degree parts. So if there are 12 constellations, that makes up the 360 degrees. But as you can see, Scorpio forms a tiny little portion of the ecliptic as a whole. So this is not represented in natal astrology, which is complete nonsense. If you look at the constellations themselves as they are represented in the heavens, in the sky, you'll see that Scorpio forms a tiny little portion of the ecliptic as a whole. I think it's something like 5% of the whole ecliptic. So it's a very, very small portion. Whereas in natal astrology, they will say that Scorpio, they kicked out Ophiuchus completely. So you won't see Ophiuchus mentioned in people's, when they talk about this people's, the month that they were born in, all that nonsense about, it's called natal astrology. It's about, they make it about themselves. So this is how Satan has deceived the people as far as worshipping these kinds of things and making it about themselves. But it's got nothing to do with us and our lives. That's just a bunch of idolatrous nonsense. But if Satan is deceiving in this regard, in this manner, and he is trying to pervert the truth of what is going on in the heavens, there's a reason for that. And that is because he doesn't want us to see when the Messiah is coming. And that's the only time that God has allowed it in the Bible with the Magi. The Magi saw the Messiah was coming by looking in the heavens, and anybody who's followed this channel will know that that's the only thing that we look to the heavens for. We look at the signs in the heavens, blood moons, lunar eclipses and solar eclipses, and conjunctions between planets and stars, and interesting dates. So if they come near Jewish feast days or the feast days of the Lord, then we find those very interesting. So why is this one interesting? Well, this one is interesting because it is taking place right at the claw of Scorpio. And we know that Scorpio is the conflict, and it is the representation of the conflict between the serpent. It's another representation of the serpent, Satan, the devil, and Ophiuchus There you can see Ophiuchus, the serpent handler, big dude in the sky, holding a massive serpent. What could be more representative of good versus evil? So they are saying that the lunar eclipse is happening in Sagittarius. That's just not the case. As you can see, this is May the 26th. This is the lunar eclipse. It's happening in Scorpio. So yeah, it's not happening in Sagittarius. It's happening right in Scorpio, and that's very interesting. Of course, Sagittarius is the rider on. Well, he's not a rider. He's more of a beast. He's half man, half horse. He's the representation of the beast in the sky, the Antichrist. Unto him in Revelation 6 was given a bow and a crown. So there's the beast, the white horse rider, the false Messiah, given a bow and a crown. Okay, so this is where the blood moon is happening on the 26th of May. And as we know, the 26th of May is, of course, 12 days away from the 14th of May, which was Israel's 73rd birthday. So we were obviously all watching that day on May the 14th, because that's the beginning of the two dates, which is the 70 to 80 year marker minus the 7 years for tribulation, would land us on May 14, if we use 365 day calendars. So now that we've gone past this day, the next thing we can do is we can go to May 14, 2028, and then deduct 2,520 days. If we deduct 2,520 days, we come to June the 20th June the 20th next month. And that links in with the Kaduri prophecies. So as we know, we're watching those prophecies very carefully. And we can see that Lapid has been given the mandate, but it doesn't look like he's going to be able to form that mandate. He doesn't look like he's going to be able to form the government, and he has until June the 2nd. So on June the 2nd, he has to hand the mandate back to President Rivlin, or it could be a new president, because there's a vote for a new president. So we're going to see if there's going to be a new president in Israel. And then the president will be able to hand the mandate to the Knesset for 2 weeks, or there's 21. So they have 21 days. So to cut a long story short, the very latest before they go to fifth elections and dissolve this government, which they can't form, is June the 23rd. That is the very last date of this government being able to be formed. So June the 23rd is the cutoff date, which is just after the June the 20th, which is 2,520 days being deducted from May the 14th, 2028. So you can do those calculations. I know that's a lot of information to take in. So the other thing I want to show you was this lunar eclipse, where it's taking place, is pretty interesting. If we have a look at the lunar eclipse on this website here, you can see where where it is taking place on the Earth. So of course the shadow of the Earth being projected onto the moon is what causes the moon to go red. So this is where the moon will be located, in front of the Earth, and of course the sun will be behind it. So the Earth will be projecting its shadow from this location onto the moon, and this is the location that will see the lunar eclipse. So as you can see, there's not many nations that can actually see this, but what I found very interesting, Australia can see it and New Zealand can see it. What I found very interesting is it's right over the Ring of Fire. So that there is the Ring of Fire, my friends. And I'm of the belief that the ring of fire is what's going to go off when the man-child is born into heaven. You know, the ring of fire is also referred to as the birth cavity when a woman gives birth because of the pain. They call it the ring of fire, and this is the ring of fire. So this is taking place in a pretty ominous location. The Scorpio has always been a malefic representation of evil. And so, yeah, I thought I would share that with you guys so you can see exactly where it is that the shadow of the earth is being projected onto the moon, and that's the ring of fire. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Then we've got the solar eclipse, which is coming on the 10th of June. So before the 20th of June, which is that cutoff date, 2,520 days being deducted from May 14, 2028, we've got both a lunar eclipse and a solar eclipse, a full annual solar eclipse. And this is going over the region of Canada. And if you've been watching what's going on in Canada, and the pastors that are being arrested there, and I know Brother David Lynn, he's a preacher from Canada, and you know the persecution that is happening in Canada is probably unequaled as far as Christian persecution goes. I've not seen a place being more persecuted than our brothers in Canada. I mean, I'm talking about from Western Christendom, as we would expect the freedom of religion. Not talking obviously about communist China and places where the gospel is just banned by law. So yeah, that's the 10th of June 2021. So we've got a lunar eclipse and a solar eclipse coming up, and of course everything that's happening in Israel right now, and how that has taken over the mainstream media. And I think I will cut off this video on YouTube over here, and we will call this part 1. And now I'm going to say some things which are not suitable for the YouTube platform. So please go to Rumble for part 2. I will put part 1 and part 2 on Rumble. But now I'm going to say some things which will probably get me banned from YouTube. So I'll see you there.